So here's a backstory of test optional that colleges have implemented recently, the last few years, I would say. So when the pandemic began, and when we were, full tilt in the middle of the pandemic, many of you may or may not know that a lot of these testing centers that were administering the SAT and ACT were closing. Literally, they were closing. When students were trying to sign up and take a test at their local school, the local testing center, it was closed. So I literally had students who went to different states to take the test back then. And I had, I'm in Maryland here, but I had kids go to Pennsylvania. I had two kids who went to Pennsylvania. I even had a kid go to Ohio to take the test. So what happened was back then, because the colleges knew that this was going on, they went test optional. Now, what happened was, because it went test optional, a lot of students apply to a lot more schools. So, for example, a student who might apply to 5 schools said, "Oh, well, they're all test optional. If I don't have to submit my SAT scores, then I'll just submit to 10 or 15 schools instead of 5 schools." So, in the last few years, colleges have seen a huge increase in the number of applicants applying to their schools. Now, what happens is, when that happens, the number of freshmen that colleges can accept every year is pretty much the same. That number is the same. But if you have a lot more people apply, what happens? Well, your acceptance rate goes down. So instead of saying, okay, we're only accepting 2,000 people and 30,000 people applied, well, you're only accepting 2,000 people still, but now 55,000 people applied. And so what happens is the percent of students that you accept that year goes down. Why is that good for colleges? It makes them look selective, It makes them look elite. It makes them look like, hey, we're very selective. We're a very special college, right? We're very rigorous in our requirements. And so if a college accepts 30% of their students one year, and the next year, because so many more kids apply, it goes from 30 to 15%, they love that. They love that because it makes them look selective. And the other thing is, it's about $65 per student applying to college. That's the application fee. That's a huge revenue stream for colleges that's tacked on top of, okay? So colleges love this. Now, everybody has gone back to school. Classes are in person again. So why are schools still test optional? You think about it this way, from a business perspective, why would they not do test optional? Why would they go back when so many more students apply and it makes them look selective? It gives them more revenue. Why would they not do it? Okay, so a lot of them have just remained test optional. Now, this is great for colleges. It benefits them in almost every way. There are some downsides, and some of the downsides are, for example, that the admissions officers working in colleges are becoming overwhelmed. Without standardized test scores, there was a recent article that came out, and without standardized test scores, they find it hard to be objective. If you want to read some of my writings on this, based on published articles, go to ckeducation.org and click on CK blog, and I've written my thoughts on the SAT and colleges based on published articles. Okay, but that's a side note. So anyway, you can read more about that in more detail if you like. So it's great for colleges. Now, what about students? Is it good for students? Well, it makes students think that they don't need to take the SAT. Like, it's okay, and I'll still be competitive. But let me remind students of this. Colleges have always been AP optional. They've always been activities optional. They never required that you do activities. They never required that you take a certain number or even any number of AP classes. And yet, let's say if a student took 0 APs and a student took 0 or participated in 0 extracurricular activities, would it make them competitive? No, it would make them very non-competitive, right? And it's the same thing with the test. If you don't take the SAT, the only message that you're sending to colleges is, I didn't do well. What other message could there be if you don't submit your SAT scores? It just means that I didn't do very well, so I'm not submitting them. Colleges are not dumb. They know this. And so for very competitive districts, like where I live, like Howard County, Montgomery County, or Fairfax, Virginia, some of these counties are all of those counties are very competitive. And almost everyone who enrolls, not just applying is one thing, but the students who actually get accepted and enroll in competitive colleges, data shows that the vast majority of them submitted SAT scores or ACT scores. So to be a competitive candidate, nothing has changed. You still have to take a rigorous course load with as many APs as you can. You still have to participate in a good number of activities that you're passionate in. And number three, you have to do well on standardized tests, SAT or ACT. So really the message is nothing has changed. If you want to be a competitive candidate for colleges, you still have to do all the things that you did pre-pandemic, even though it's kind of post-pandemic now. So I just want to get that out there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.